Okay, thank you for joining us for this YouTube video presentation of our latest ministry. We hope you really enjoyed it, and if you did, why don't you subscribe to our channel? Better still, send us some feedback. If you have questions, let us know. We'd be more than happy to interact and engage with you. Thank you again, and we hope that you will join us soon. Why not try and make it to one of our services one Sunday? We're meeting here in Norwich from 10:30 a.m. and then again at 5 p.m. at night. We'd love to see you. God bless you.
Good morning, good morning. Well, I'm just going to jump right in because I want to start with a confession this morning. So a couple of weeks ago, I was having a really busy Saturday. It was the week of the A21 Walk for Freedom. Shout out to everyone who was at the Walk for Freedom. And so that day was going to be a really full day for me. Started off, my little boy, my 4-year-old, he has his swimming lesson at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. It's not that hard when he gets up at 5. It doesn't feel like that much of a shock to the system with us, with a 5 o'clock wake up every day. All the parents with me on this, yes? But anyway, so we had to get to the swimming pool for 8 o'clock in the morning. Then we needed to, swimming makes you hungry, right? So we always have this major issue after the morning swimming lesson that he needs some food. So we had to sort out getting some snack after swimming. We needed to get into city. I mean, Chapelfield on a Saturday is never the best time, but we needed to get into the city because we wanted to be at the Walk for Freedom, and that was starting at 10 o'clock, so we joined in with the Walk for Freedom, which was amazing. And then they need food, right? Again, food is like a major feature in my life of my 2 little boys, so we needed more food, so we went and got some food in Chapelfield. And I had because I'm in the city, I'm a bit of a countryside Norfolk girl, like I don't go to the city very often, so when I do, I have to make the most of it. So I had this list of all these things that I needed to do, shops I needed to pop in, things that I needed to pick up, things that I wanted to sort out. So I kind of had all these errands that I was trying to fit in. However, the challenge was that we had a 5-year-old's birthday party to get to by 2 o'clock. So Walk for Freedom had finished. They were taking forever to eat their lunch, and then we were dashing around trying to do all of these other things that we needed to do in the city in order to get to the birthday party with presents wrapped, cards written, change of clothes, because I figured the 3 of us couldn't show up at a 5-year-old's birthday party full black because we'd been on Walk for Freedom. Didn't think that was quite the vibe they were going for at the unicorn party that we were heading to. So we needed to do a whole outfit change, and then they need the toilet, and so we eventually get back down to the car, and we put everything in the car. Children car seats, always a difficult situation, so I eventually pen them in, basically, restrain them in their car seats and start unloading all of the stuff from the car. And then as I go to fold the pushchair and put it into the car, I realized that I had stolen a jumper from H&M. Literally, at some point I'd been in H&M and I'd been looking at a few things to buy, and I didn't buy anything. Apparently I just stole it, and I'd somehow got it all twisted up in the hood of the pushchair, and then the muslin had gone on top of it. And so it wasn't until I got to the car park that I realized that I had this jumper in the pushchair, and I thought, oh, okay, well, I can't be bothered to get the children all out of their car seats and put them in the pushchair and then go all the way back and having to look in the window at Disney Store and all the complication that it would take to go back and return this one jumper to H&M. And I thought, well, the security guards, they'll be in that little hut thing, as you leave in Chapelfield. I thought, I'm just going to pull over there. I can just holler out the window, explain I accidentally took it, give it to the security guards, they'll take it back. Their security, that's their job. I confess, everything would be fine. So anyway, got in the car, drove to leave, pulled up at the gates, ready to leave. No security guards. So what'd you do? Just went home. With the stolen jumper. You see, the problem was that I had been so busy in the city with this huge list of things that I was trying to do. My diary was so full on that day about where I needed to be and having to be at certain places at certain times with these 2 kids in tow on the day. I just got so busy that I got distracted in that moment with the jumper in H&M, and it had ended up in the pushchair and then eventually at home in my kitchen. I feel Amy's face. I feel like Amy's really judging me right now. But come on, as I reflected on this theft is minor, right? As I reflected on this minor situation that had come up for me that was easily remedied, and you'll be pleased to know that one day this week, I can't remember, but one day this week, I went back and I fully confessed to the girl at the checkout in Chapelfield. Here is the jumper, fully paid for. I have a receipt. They've also taken the security tag off. I was a bit paranoid because I had looked on YouTube, how do you remove security tags? I found some very helpful videos on YouTube, but no, she removed the security tag. I have paid in full. This is legally my jumper. She more said to me when I took it back and told her how I'd accidentally stolen, she went, and you brought it back? So anyway, obviously they don't expect to get things back. But anyway, I took it back. But it got me thinking, how many times in life have I allowed my busyness to distract me from something? How many times in life have I had so much that I'm trying to do? Have I had such a long to-do list, so many things filling my calendar that my busyness has been a distraction for me? How many times has there been in seasons in my life when I felt like there's so many plates that I'm trying to keep spinning? I feel so stretched thin. I feel so overwhelmed. I feel like there's so many things I should say yes to. I should really do that. There's so many roles that I'm trying to fulfill in life that my busyness is distracting me, and nothing's really getting my focus. Nothing is really getting my attention. Tell me I'm not the only one who feels like they're being pulled in multiple directions by all the things that they should be doing. In fact, I know I'm not the only one, because we had a chat at brunch, which is our dinner party that we do with some of the other parents. We were chatting on Monday, and I was talking about we're going to be doing the message on Sunday morning. It's about distraction, like what kind of distractions are there? What things distract you? What sort of topics would be good to talk about? And literally, it was all mums at the house. They just went for it. Like, we filled this whole A4 page of, this can distract. Oh, and then there's this. No, don't forget about this one. And literally, I couldn't keep up with how quickly they were listing out all the things that distract us. There are so many things in life that can distract us. And our busyness, it got me thinking that actually the busyness of life is a distraction in itself. The busyness of life can be our biggest distraction, because we're all so busy, aren't we? Have you ever, when someone said to you, how's your week going? Busy. Maybe you've even said it to somebody this morning. How are you doing? Have you had a good week? How was it? It was a busy week. Have you ever found yourself asking the question of yourself and thinking, I wish there was more time. I wish there was another hour in the day. Anyone ever said that before? I wish there was another day in the week, because we all need more time, right? We all have those seasons when I feel like I need more time. I feel like if there was just an extra hour so I could get all the things that I need to do, all these things, I could get them done. But we also know that there is no extra hour. There is no 8th day in the week. But all this busy, all these demands, all these plates we're trying to keep spinning, all this busy around us can end up becoming the stress inside of us. We're all so busy. We're all stretched thin. We have meetings and obligations. We've got birthday parties to take our kids to. We've got errands that we need to be running, roles that we need to be fulfilling, parents we need to be caring for, car insurance we need to be sorting, frazzles we need to be getting from Tesco is still the story of my life. We've got finance to be budgeting for. We've got serving in church, exercise that we should really be doing at some point in the week, birthday presents to buy for nieces and nephews, articles that we'd really like to read, books that are gathering dust on the shelves. There is so much in life that is demanding our attention. The busyness can be such a distraction. And especially for those of us that are Christians, that rather than living in the overflow that God promises for us, instead we find ourselves living overcommitted, living overwhelmed, and living overworked. Where is the overflow that the Bible talks to us about? So this morning, I want us to tackle this issue head on. And I want us to look at the record of a man from ancient times we can read about in the Old Testament, a man called Nehemiah, because I believe we've got some powerful application that we can take from this ancient life and apply in our modern 21st century context. So just to bring you up to speed before we jump into the particular part of Nehemiah that I want us to look at. Nehemiah has a book in the Old Testament of the Bible. It's called Nehemiah, so it's kind of nice and easy. It's like a biography, an autobiography. And Nehemiah was a Jewish man, and he was part of an exile of the Jews. They were taken captive, and Nehemiah, when we read the story, he's in the Persian Empire, and he's actually a cupbearer. Now, for us in our modern world, that doesn't sound, it's a bit random, isn't it? A cupbearer. But he worked in the king's court. And actually, the position of cupbearer, it was quite a high position. It was a position of trust. There was some authority. You were very close contact with the royal family in the role of a cupbearer. And anyway, the Jews themselves, Jerusalem had been destroyed through various, you have to read the records, various different incidences that had happened, and Jerusalem had been destroyed as other nations had come and attacked the Jewish people. And at the point that we're going to look at today, Jerusalem, it's been rebuilt, the temple has been rebuilt. But Nehemiah, he knows that the walls of the city of Jerusalem are in a place of destruction. The walls have never been rebuilt. Now again, for us in our modern context, what's a wall? A fence panel was wobbly in our garden in the wind the other day is at the end of the world. But a wall for a city at this point in history was hugely important. A wall was a way of protecting the people inside. It was about protection. It was about provision. It was a lookout point. A wall had huge significance. Every city needed a wall, and they needed the biggest, strongest, most secure wall that they could have. And so Nehemiah is aware that the wall around Jerusalem is broken down, and that means that the city of Jerusalem is defenseless. It's vulnerable. It's at risk. And so Nehemiah talks to the king about it, and eventually it ends up that the king allows Nehemiah to go back to Jerusalem with the mission of rebuilding the wall around the city, and he even gives him letters, and he supports him and encourages him to go. And so Nehemiah goes back to Jerusalem, and for the few Jews, the remnant that are still there, he rallies them together and says, right, we're going to build this wall. We're all going to do it together. We're all going to work as a team. We know we need the wall. Now's the time to get the job done. And they begin to rebuild the wall, and it's phenomenal how they're able to do it over I think it's about 52, 53 days. They're able to rebuild the wall as they come together as a team, despite huge amounts of opposition and hostility from the surrounding people groups and the other cities around them who are worried about what's going on. In the midst of all of that, they managed to rebuild the wall and secure Jerusalem again. We're going to pick up the story of what happens with Nehemiah. And so it says, now it happened when Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies, these are some of those people groups that I was talking about from around the area. The rest of our enemies, when they heard that I had rebuilt the wall and that there were no breaks left in it, though at the time I'd not hung the doors and the gates, just a minor issue there, but there were no breaks left in it. Then Sanballat and Geshem sent to me, saying, come, let us meet together among the villages in the plain of Ono. So here we find Nehemiah on the verge of completing this huge project. This was a huge mission that he'd undertaken. It was a great purpose that God had for his life. It was something he was passionate about. He'd gone out on a limb in order to achieve this. He's just got a few walls, doors and gates that he needs to put up. So he's in the final push to completing this project, and boom, there comes a distraction. And I love Nehemiah's response to this distraction. In fact, his reaction to this distraction is something that is so powerful for all of us, because it goes on to say, Nehemiah says, they thought to do me harm. So I sent messengers to them saying, I am doing a great work, so I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you? You see, if Nehemiah had stopped what he was doing, if Nehemiah had decided to travel the couple of days that it would have taken him to get to the valley of Ono and have this meeting, and then a couple of days to get back again, if he'd maybe decided to give everyone a few days off whilst he went on this meeting, or if he'd decided to delegate his role to the team that would have been working around him and some other people to supervise these last finishing touches to the wall, the distraction would have led to Nehemiah's destruction. No, he says, they thought to do me harm. This distraction that on the surface of it looked good. The enemies want to talk with him. Maybe they want to negotiate a treaty. Maybe they want to strike up a peace deal. The distraction looked like it could be a really positive thing, but that distraction would have led to his destruction. Nehemiah knew what he was doing was a great work, to use his words. It was a great work. He knew that what he was doing was important, but instead there was a temptation to be torn away by something that was urgent instead. In fact, it wasn't just once that they wrote to Nehemiah and tempted him and encouraged him to come and have this meeting with him 4 times. It says they sent me this message 4 times, and I answered them in the same manner. See, so often in life, the important things, like rebuilding a wall, the important things get pushed aside by the urgent things, like meeting his enemies in this case. So how about in your life? Are the important things being pushed aside by things that are urgent instead? Are we forsaking the things that are important to us? Are we forsaking the things in life that really matter to us for the urgent, for that email that just pinged up, for that message that just came up, that notification on our phone? Are we forsaking the things that really matter? That if you were to look at your to-do list, if you were to look in your calendar at urgent things, squeezing out the things that are most important for you right now, most important in your life's journey right now, most important in your marriage right now, most important in your career right now, in your finances right now, in your health right now. What are the things that are most important? I loved Nehemiah's reaction to the distraction that came his way. I love that he knew it was an important work. He knew that it was a great work. And he gives you and I the perfect language to use in our own lives when there's a distraction that comes our way. That when a distraction comes our way, can we too turn to it and say, I am doing a great work. I can't come down. I am doing a great work. I cannot come down. You see, Nehemiah gives us a phenomenal insight in what it means to be people of focus. People of focus. It can be so hard to focus in our modern world, can't it? It can be so hard to focus when there's all the things that are going on, all the distractions coming up in our direction. Nehemiah teaches us about the importance of focus to get the job done, and so that his distraction did not lead to his destruction. He knew he needed to focus. In fact, there's someone else in the Bible who gives us a phenomenal insight in what it means to focus and be a person of focus, and that's Jesus himself. Jesus was a man of great focus. As you read through the accounts of the Gospels, as you read through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you'll see that Jesus was very much a man of focus. He was about his Father's business, is what he would say. He was a man of focus, that so many times there would be other opportunities that would come up, that there'd be crowds of people gathered, and the disciples would be saying, Jesus, like, come on, let's go and talk to these people. There's a crowd of people over here. They want to hear from you. They want to have your ministry. They want you to pray for them. And Jesus would say, actually, no, we need to go on now. We're going to go to this city. So many times opportunities, good opportunities, great opportunities would come along, and Jesus would say, oh, actually, we're going to do this instead. Why? Because he was focused. Because he wasn't allowing things that came across as urgent to distract him, which was most important. Jesus was forever being interrupted, but Jesus knew that it's okay to say no. And if it's okay for Jesus to say no sometimes, it's okay for us to say no as well. We can't do everything. We need to know what is the great work that we are working for at this moment. You know, Jesus, he comes across in the Gospels as very unhurried, doesn't he? He never feels like he's in a hurry. Yes, he's full. Yes, there's things that he's trying to do, but you kind of get a sense that he had space in his life. He had margin in his life. There's a record once of a time when there was a man called Jairus who came to talk to Jesus because his little child, his daughter, was desperately ill, on the verge of death, and he comes to Jesus and begs Jesus to come and pray for his daughter in the hope that Jesus would heal his dying daughter and she would be well. And so Jesus agrees to go, and as he's heading on his way to Jairus' house to meet this dying little girl, he's pushing through a crowd, and there's a woman who herself has been ill with an issue of bleeding for 12 years, and in the midst of the crowd, she reaches out to touch the hem of Jesus' garment, and she's healed in that moment. And in the midst of this crowd, Jesus stops and he turns and he says, who touched me? And he has a moment with this woman who's just been healed. It's a phenomenal record of one of the miracles that Jesus did, but you can't help but think about Jairus in that moment. As we focus in on this wonderful healing that Jesus did for the woman, if you were Jairus, wouldn't you be telling Jesus to hurry up? His daughter is at home, desperate desperately ill. If you were Jairus, wouldn't you be saying, Jesus, come on, we haven't got time for this. My daughter is ill. Jesus, can you hurry up? Jesus, you've healed her now. Let's move on. Let's get going. But you just get the sense that Jesus knew that it was important to be present in the moment with that woman. He knew the power of being present in the moment. And he goes on and he heals Jairus' daughter as well. Jesus just has this wonderful, unhurried space and margin and ease about himself. And he invites us to that life as well. He invites all of us to that life when he says in Matthew 11, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Jesus invites us to follow him in this way of life where it is easy, where it is light, where stress isn't the thing that underlines our lives. So what do we do with this? As we look at this ancient account from Nehemiah, as we look at the example we find in Jesus, how do we move forward from here? How do we bring these understandings into our 2019 lives? I want you to ask yourself a question this morning. What is your wall? Nehemiah had a wall that was a great work, a wall that he was building that was his most important work. So what is your wall? What is the great work that you need to be doing in your life right now? What is the thing that needs your attention and needs your focus? What is it in your life, in your family, in your work at this time? Maybe it's something to do with one of your children. Maybe it's something in your marriage and it needs your focus, it needs your attention. It's your wall right now. It's your great work. Maybe there's some debts that you need to get sorted once and for all. Maybe it's to do with your health. Maybe you need to rest better. Maybe that's where you need to be putting some focus. Maybe it's a habit that you need to break or a habit that you really need to be starting. Maybe it's something to do with your Christian life and spending time with God in your everyday. Maybe it's something to do with serving in church. That's your wall. That's, the Christmas services are coming. You're involved in the Christmas hampers or the production or the kids program. And that needs to be your wall right now. That is your important work right now. What is it in your life that needs your attention and focus right now? I had to work really hard when I was preparing this message not to just do a time management message. Not just to kind of be up here and say, here's some top tips on how to manage your time, because that's not really what I believe God wants us all to take away from this today. I could talk about your top 5 time management tips, and there'll be people in the room that none of them would apply to your life. I'm a nearly 40-year-old stay-at-home mum of 2 children, and my time management might look very different to your story and your situation right now. There's so many other resources out there that you can go away and learn from and develop from. But I believe that we need to learn to pause, to align our schedule and our commitments with our priorities so that we're making progress in the right things, in the things that we are saying is the most important. Not letting busy rob us of the most important things. Not letting busy rob us of the things that don't really matter to us. Not letting busy rob us of our peace. Not letting busy rob us of our dreams and our ambitions. What is the wall in your life right now? What is the great work you should be focusing on? It's such a simple concept, isn't it? But just because it's simple, it doesn't mean it's weak. Just because it's a simple thought, it doesn't mean it's ineffective. Sometimes the simplest of things can be the most significant of things for our life. And for some of us in the room this morning, perhaps that one thing we need to be focused on came straight to mind. As soon as you saw where the message was going, you're like, yeah, I know. It's my marriage at the moment, I just really need to work on that. I need to focus on it. I need to spend time on us as a couple. Oh, yeah, I need to keep saying I'm going to look for a new job, and I've been putting it off. And, I need to get my head down. I need to start looking. I need to allocate some time. I need to make room to get on and look for that new job that it is. You knew straight away, this is my thing. This is my wall. But others of us, maybe you're wondering. Maybe it's difficult. I'll give you a few questions that might help you to filter it a little bit. A great place to start is what will make the most difference in your life. If you were to focus on something for the next few weeks, what would make the most difference in your life and in your family? What would have the greatest impact? Because I'm sure there's plenty of things you could put in that box, but what would have the greatest impact? Another way that you could look at it is by asking yourself, what's frustrating me most right now? What is that thing that just keeps coming up and it's frustrating me and it's frustrating me? Because, maybe if you deal with that frustration, that's going to be the thing that helps you take the most progress forward in your life. Maybe your great work is dealing with the great frustration that you've got going on right now. What is your wall? Some of the things that you might need to look at, some of the things you might need to cross off as you stop busyness from overtaking your life, as you try and look at your to-do list, as you look in your calendar and think, do you know what, that's not my great work. I need to move that one aside. I need to turn that notification off on my phone. I need to cancel my Netflix subscription or whatever it is. Some of those things, as you begin to cross them off, it might be really hard to do it. Because they're not bad things necessarily. They could be good things you enjoy, things you get excited about. But are they what matters most right now? Are they the thing that is most important for you to be focusing on right now? And as you sit down and you look at your calendar, as you look at your to-do list, as you look at all the commitments that are coming up, I encourage you to use Nehemiah's language. I am doing a great work. I cannot come down. Allow that to be the filter when you get text messages from your mates asking you, do you want to go here? Do you want to do this? Shall we do this? I am doing a great work. Can I come down? I can't. I am doing a great work. I cannot come down. Allow Nehemiah's response, allow Nehemiah's reaction to be the thing that helps you filter out distractions in your life. We said earlier, didn't we, about just that need that we can all have for more time in the day, the need for that extra hour, the need for that extra day in the week. We feel like we need it, but the truth of the matter is it's not about having more time, but it's about slowing down and simplifying what we allow in our lives. It's about simplifying them down to the things that matter the most. Ephesians 5, verses 15 to 16, Paul writes and he says, be very careful how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity. Be very careful how you live. Let's not live as reactors, right? Reacting to that email, reacting to that text message, that invitation, that notification. Let's not be reacting to, well, on Instagram, they're all doing Couch to 5K at the moment. On Instagram, everyone's doing this at the moment. So I should probably join in with it as well. Let's not be reactors, but let's learn to follow Jesus' example and live like people with intention, live by design. We're not called to be busy. We're called to be fruitful. We're called to be fruitful. It's not about rushing around all of the time like a headless chicken, because you can be the busiest person in this room, but it doesn't make you the most productive person in this room. You can be the busiest person rushing from here, there, and everywhere, but you're not doing the things that matter the most. Busy life doesn't necessarily equal a productive life. There's a wonderful verse in Proverbs 31. Now, I know Proverbs 31, it's a scripture all about being a virtuous woman. And guys, please, men, do not switch off, because there is wisdom in this verse for you as well. So promise me you're not going to switch off, guys. Proverbs 31, you're not going to switch off. It says in Proverbs 31, 16 to 18, it's talking about a woman, but it applies. It says, she considers a new field before she buys or accepts it, expanding prudently and not courting neglect of her present duties by assuming other duties. With her savings of time and strength, she plants fruitful vines in her vineyard. Fruitful vines. We're not called to be busy. We're called to be fruitful people, to be effective people, to be people of influence, to be people who get the job done, to be fruitful people. And I love how the language in Proverbs here teaches us about not neglecting our duties. Don't neglect our present duties. Don't neglect that wall that you know you should be building. Don't neglect the thing that is most important to you right now for the sake of the things that are urgent in life. Let's not be reactors, but let's live by intention and design. There are 8 weeks left of this year. 8 weeks left of this decade. So what if you focused in on that wall for the next 8 weeks? What if you decided, you know what, I'm going to go home this afternoon. I'm going to review the things that I've got in my diary. I'm going to review the notifications on my phone. I'm going to review what I'm watching on TV, how I'm spending my days. I'm going to review all of these commitments. I'm going to review everything. And for these next 8 weeks, I'm going to focus in on my wall. That if this is the thing that I'm saying matters the most, if this is the thing that I'm saying is going to have the greatest impact in my life right now, if this is the thing that I believe I need to be getting my head down and focusing on, I'm going to review it all and I'm going to focus in on this. What if we decided I'm not going to allow the busyness to distract me anymore? All the commitments that I could possibly sign up to, I'm not going to let busyness be my distraction because I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. I'm doing a great work. I'm going to break that habit. I'm doing a great work. I'm going to build my marriage. I'm doing a great work. I'm going to invest in my child specifically at this time. I'm doing a great work. I'm going to apply for that job. I'm doing a great work. I'm going to serve with all my heart in church. I'm doing a great work. I'm going to pay off that debt. I'm doing a great work. I'm going to develop that new skill. I'm doing a great work. I'm going to invest in my health. I'm doing a great work. I cannot come down. What if we stopped allowing urgent things to distract us from the things that matter most? We have a great work to do. And Nehemiah gives us the perfect reaction to those distractions that come our way. Why don't you stand to your feet? You know, those distractions will come up time and time again. We read how 4 times they wrote to Nehemiah. And they tried to distract him. They tried to draw him away. They tried to sabotage the work that he was doing. But there was a 5th time, it goes on in the record, a 5th time that they wrote to him as they tried to steal his focus. And in response to that 5th letter that Nehemiah got, he sent them the same response. And Nehemiah then comes before God and he prays. And he says, God, would you strengthen my hands? Would you strengthen my hands? This repeated distractions coming at me. God, would you strengthen my hands that I can do the great work that you have for me to do? So I just want to take a moment before we sing to pray for you. I want to pray that God would strengthen your hands for your great work as well. So why don't you reach out to God? Begin to pray for it yourself. Begin to focus in on your great work. Begin to consider, what are the things that I need to be focusing on? What is my great work? Father, for every person in the room this morning, I pray, Lord God, that you would give them such a clarity on what the great work is that you want them to be focusing in on right now. Lord, would you give them such a clarity about how it is you want to move, what it is you want them to be doing, what it is that is most important for them right now. And Lord, I pray that in the midst of whatever distractions they have, the questions, the meetings, the emails, the things going on at work, the extra hours that are available, God, all the distractions that have come our way, God, would you give them strength? God, would you give them resolve? God, would you give them a resilience? God, would you give them a clarity of focus? That, Father, as they step into that place of focus, Lord God, that they would know the truth of what Jesus said, that my yoke is easy, my burden is light. That, Father, they would feel a lifting of stress, a lifting of the anxiety, a lifting of the worry, Lord God. And in place, they would know your peace. Lord, that they would know what it means to be fruitful, not busy, to be effective, not overwhelmed, to live in the overflow rather than being overcommitted. Lord, we give ourselves to you. Thank you, God, that we have a great work to do. And thank you that you are with us every step of the way. Amen.